Are you a first-time homebuyer who is feeling overwhelmed by it all? Then today's video is for you. We are going to talk about the steps to buying your first home, 5 tips for first-time homebuyers, some common first-time homebuyer mistakes, and I'll tell you how to get my free home buying process checklist. So stay tuned so you can go from feeling overwhelmed about the process of buying your first home to confidently walking through the process. Hi, I'm Charlotte, your Thurston County real estate broker. The process can definitely seem overwhelming, but don't worry, we're here to break it all down into simple steps to make it as stress-free as possible. So first, let's go over the steps to buying your first home. Step 1, prepare your finances. The first step in buying a home is to figure out how much you can afford. Now, this means taking a look at your income, expenses, and any debts that you may have. A good rule of thumb is to aim for a mortgage payment that's no more than 25% of your monthly income. You also need to take into account your lifestyle. If that 25% allows you to still have your life in the same manner, for example, travel, then perfect. But if not, then you will need to adjust and be realistic with your mortgage budget. If you do not, then you will end up having regrets and hating your home and start to feel trapped. Don't do this. Be realistic with your budget. I have a free buyer's guide that I have a link in the description below that includes a budgeting sheet. So make sure you grab it if you need some help in this area. Step 2, get pre-approved for a mortgage. The next step is to get pre-approved for a mortgage. This means contacting a lender and providing them with some information about your financial situation. They'll let you know how much you can borrow and what the interest rate will be. This will also give you a good idea of how it fits into your budget. Some extra advice in this step. Number 1, find a local lender to work with. I have several names if you need some recommendations. The reason behind using a local lender is 1, they tend to have more flexibility with their hours of availability. So if you need to get a hold of them at 8 p.m. on a Saturday night, they will more likely be available. Number 2, national big box banks are that, national. So you go into a national queue for things like underwriting. The problem is that, let's say they get behind. Well, there's no jumping the line to hit dates in the contract, and you potentially risk losing out on not only your earnest money, but the house as well. I've heard some horror stories from other agents about this happening to their clients, and it is a real thing. So like I said, contact a local lender. Number 2, make sure you're bringing that budget sheet to the conversation. They might pre-approve you for a higher amount than you would be comfortable with on your monthly mortgage. So it's important to let them know where you feel comfortable so that they can keep that in mind as they watch the mortgage rates while you're looking. Step 3, talk to your real estate broker and start house hunting. Okay, now's the time to start looking for your dream home. Reach out to your real estate broker. They're gonna wanna do an initial buyer conversation or consultation, and this is gonna go deep into what you're looking for. For example, your budget, location, and the type of home you're looking for, your wants and your needs. And this is the time to discuss what you can expect in the market at your price point. What does that mean? Well, the market acts differently at different price points. For example, there are generally more buyers at the entry-level price point than there are at the $1 million price point. That means that there is more competition and therefore multiple offers at some price points than at others, which means your offer will be different, how long a property will stay on the market will be different, etc., etc. And we will go over how to handle being in a multiple offer scenario as well. It's important to have this information so you aren't surprised and can feel confident. We're gonna wanna go over the contract paperwork in this step also, so that when it comes time to writing an offer, you're confident in what you're offering as far as price and terms, but you also feel comfortable with what's in the contract. Step 4, make an offer. Once you've found the home, it's time to make an offer. This involves negotiating the price as well as a bunch of other terms with the seller. Price is never the only thing that matters, so we will discuss all the terms to make sure that you are submitting your best offer possible. At this point, after we have submitted the offer, we will wait to hear from the seller. Now we're either going to get an accepted offer, a counter offer, or a rejected offer, and we go from there. So unfortunately, with a rejected offer, we go back to searching, back to the starting board. And often with a full rejection, it's likely due to a multiple offer scenario. Otherwise, we'll probably get a counter offer rather than a full rejection. A counteroffer allows us more time to continue to negotiate to get to a place where both parties are happy and we can move forward with an accepted offer. Now, after an accepted offer, we move forward to the next step. Step number 5, get a home inspection. It's extremely important to get a home inspection, even on new construction. A home inspection is an examination of the property to make sure there's no major issues that need to be addressed. It is not to see what needs to be done to make the house perfect. Houses age, and even with amazing maintenance, there's going to be things that come up on an inspection report. So the goal of the report is to find out things about the house that you can't see while you're walking through it. It's to make sure you're aware of the state of the home. If there are any large problems, we can use the results of the inspection to renegotiate the terms of the sale. Step number 6, get an appraisal. If you are getting a loan, the lender will usually require an appraisal. I say usually because occasionally the lender is going to say it's not necessary. If it does require an appraisal, this is something that the lender orders. You will be given the report to review. The report will either come in at or above contract price or below contract price. If it comes in below contract price, then there are several ways that this can play out. But the bottom line is that this is another area of potential renegotiation. If the appraisal comes in at or above the contract price, then we continue on to step 7 to close the deal. Step 7, close the deal. The final step is to close the deal and become the proud owner of your new first home. This involves signing paperwork, paying closing costs, getting the deed recorded, and transferring ownership of the property. This can take a couple of days or it can happen all in one day. It all just depends. But you'll usually know and it won't be a surprise either way. Let's talk about the home buying process timeline too, so you can kind of get an overview. Some of the timeline is going to depend on what you're looking for, what your wants and needs are, as well as your price point. If you're looking for something uncommon or super specific, it can take longer in a market with lower inventory levels. Sometimes it can be a fast process and you find the right home on the first home tour, and sometimes, unfortunately, it can take months. Let's look at an example. You start actively looking in June. You find one near the end of the month, say June 22nd, and get an accepted offer. It usually takes about 30 to 45 days to close. So let's say you close in August, say August 3rd. You don't pay your first loan payment on September 1st. You pay your first payment the following month on October 1st. Let's go over some first-time homebuyer mistakes and how to avoid them. I have a long list of mistakes and it's gonna be a video series, but I'm gonna go over a couple right now that you will probably encounter when you first start. Number 1, not checking your credit report. This is a really important mistake, and it should be done in that budgeting first step. You should be checking your credit report from all 3 credit bureaus prior to starting the pre-approval process. You never know what could be on them that's incorrect, and you need to be checking to see what's on these to make sure that it's all 100% correct. You should be doing this early, and it should actually be in that first step. The reason is that sometimes it can take a while to fix mistakes that are on the report. So you need to make sure that you have time to get these resolved before it's time to actually start getting pre-approved and looking. Number 2, not getting pre-approved before starting to look, or confusing a pre-qualification and pre-approval. Your first step before looking at homes should be to get pre-approved. Not pre-qualified, but pre-approved, and there is a huge difference between these two. I have a couple of videos on this topic, but the basic difference is that the lender on a pre-approval has run your credit, validated all of your financial information, and provided you with an amount that you are pre-approved for. You've provided a ton of documents in order for this to happen at this point, so you should feel pretty confident in your pre-approval. Now, this is the most important step in the process. If you start looking at homes first and you find one that you fall in love with, a couple of things can happen. First, you start going through the pre-approval process with a lender, and they run your credit and they find an error that either prevents you from getting pre-approved or means that you may qualify but for a smaller loan than you were expecting, and you're no longer eligible to purchase the home that you've fallen in love with. So that's one scenario. Another scenario is that your credit report is fine, but based on the information, the lender pre-approves you for a lower amount than you were expecting, and you've been looking in the wrong price range this entire time. And vice versa, right? If you get pre-approved for more and you can look at a price range that's higher than you were expecting, it's a totally different ballgame. Another scenario is that you don't begin the pre-approval process with the lender until you've found that, perfect house. Now you're starting that pre-approval process with the lender, and over the next day or so, while you're getting all this stuff together for the lender, the house actually goes under contract with someone else. Now, if you'd started that pre-approval process prior to looking, you could have put an offer on that house as soon as you saw it, and you would be the one under contract on that home. In addition, the pre-approval is what you need to make that offer. Sellers are not going to entertain offers that don't have that pre-approval, especially in multiple offer situations. Number 3, only talking to one lender and getting one mortgage rate quote. The next biggest mistake is only getting one mortgage rate quote. I highly recommend that you talk to 2 or 3 local lenders and get a better idea of the programs that are available to you. Not all lenders have the same programs, and you deserve to see which one has the best option for you. For example, I've seen some lenders have a 0% down payment loan where others do not. And recently I've seen some lenders create a 1% down payment loan option. But again, not all of them have this. So you need to do your research and have conversations with a few lenders. Number 4, not saving enough money. Now, I know that it's really hard to save money for that down payment, but there are other expenses that come up during the process as well as closing costs. You also need to have money in savings when it's all said and done so that you have a buffer in case, I don't know, the water heater dies or the dishwasher. The other part that goes with this is to make sure that you take advantage of the fact that you don't need to put down 20% for a down payment. Like I said before, I've seen a few loan programs that are 1% down or even 0% down. So make sure that you aren't putting down too much. And there you have it. By following these simple steps and advice, you can become a homeowner in no time. Remember to take your time, do your research, and work with a trusted team of professionals to make the process as smooth as possible. And don't forget to grab my free home buyer's guide that includes that free home buying process checklist. Good luck. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.